going anywhere.
I usually use the Kennedy Bridge, and it's a mess.
Get the traffic out of the downtown.
It's hectic right now, very hectic.
Putting it out in the East End where the traffic isn't is silly.
It'll just be a matter of time till they still want one in the East End.
Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11, presents Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting. Tonight, our community looks at where to build a new Ohio River Bridge.
Can we, should we, make a connection? Good evening, everyone, from the studios of WHAS TV. It's a question that everyone in this studio and most of you at home would like to have answered. Where should we or could we build an Ohio River Bridge?
That's right, and in just a few weeks, our local leaders are set to finally vote on a transportation plan. Tonight, you get your chance to state your opinion. Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Swan.
And I'm Gary Rodemeyer, and tonight we're going to let you hear the options for building a new Ohio River Bridge. It is the question that has vexed Kentuckiana for the past several decades, but now we're ready to come up with some answers. We are down to the final decisions, the playoffs of bridge building in Kentuckiana. Gene West?
Gary, I'm here in the audience, a studio audience of a little more than 100 people, and we'll be taking our questions, many of the questions from the folks here tonight. They represent a cross-section of our community from the East End, the West End, and Southern Indiana. Now, we selected our audience through searching area malls. You may have seen us out and talking to people, asking them if they had questions about the bridge debate, and we will hear questions from them tonight. Doug?
Thank you, Gene. The questions won't be limited to our studio audience tonight. We've set up a data center. And since our noon news today, people have been talking to us. In fact, look at this. Ken Blanton says the bridge ought to at least be aesthetically pleasing. Maybe he's borrowing an idea from San Francisco. But let me show you what we've got behind us here. More than 2,000 people have already talked to WHAS since the noon news today about this issue. And we want you to communicate with us as the conversation progresses here. We want you to join the topic as it's on the air, and here's how you can do it. Fax us at 582-7513, or email us with your home computer. Our website is right here, www.whas11.com, and you can email us at townhall@whas11.com. We'll be reading your responses. Gary?
Thank you, Doug. So, who will answer your questions tonight? Well, we're going to go right to the source of the problem, the folks that have been doing most of the research for local government. They will be answering your questions tonight. Here is our preliminary panel for you, but there are many more people in the audience who will be answering questions too. First of all, they include David Keever, who is the senior analyst for JHK. He is represents the group hired to do much of the research on the new transportation plan. We also have with us tonight Liz Clark, a professional planner with experience in environmental policies. Also, Steve Smith, who is a vice president for JHK. He has 22 years of experience in the transportation industry. And Norm Nezelkevich, who is the director of transportation for KIPTA, the Kentuckiana Regional Planning and Development Agency.
This, no doubt, is one issue that nearly everyone in our two states has an opinion about. You hear it all the time. Where are we going to put a bridge? Where should we put a bridge? And how to fix the traffic problem. Nearly everyone has something to say about it. Before we ask any questions of our panelists or our audience members tonight, we want to take a closer look at that traffic problem, the nightmare that some of you live through daily. And for that, we want to go to the News Channel's Lauren Smith.
According to the Ohio River Major Investment Study, the study that will help determine where a new bridge goes, about 106,000 cars pass over the Kennedy Bridge every day. That's 75% of bridge capacity. By the year 2020, the study concludes bridge traffic will increase to 130,000 cars a day. Much more than the Kennedy Bridge was designed to handle. And what if nothing is done?
What will happen in this particular area is you'll just get greater and greater congestion, more accidents and incidents. Your rush hour, your peak hour periods will get longer and longer, increased frustration on the part of commuters, as well as people trying to move commercial goods through the area.
David Keever is one of two consultants with the firm JHK and Associates, conducting a year-long, $1 million bridge study. The other is Steve Smith. From Sky 11, he showed us that the big problem with crossing the river is not so much the bridge itself, but rather the off and on ramps. For example,
where that split takes place between I-64 east and west, There's traffic trying to get into that one single lane, and you can see traffic is stopped on the bridge right now.
One result, Spaghetti Junction has more than double the number of accidents than comparable sections of urban interstate elsewhere in the country.
I hate it. Spaghetti Junction is very hard to get through, especially this time of the day. I hate it in the morning. That's why I have to come in at like 7 o'clock. I come in at 7 o'clock in the morning in order to avoid all of Spaghetti Junction.
Right now, the Ormus Committee is studying 4 major options to solve the problem. Light rail, a downtown bridge combined with a major rebuilding of Spaghetti Junction, an East End bridge, and 2 bridges, one east, one downtown. A decision is expected by mid-December.
Lawrence Smith reporting from This Week, our Kentuckiana connection that appeared on our 6 o'clock news all of this week. Well, as you can see, the bridge over the Ohio River has become a political hot potato in this community. It has been for the past 20 years. And a lot of you want to talk to your elected political leaders about this. I'm sure everybody has an opinion, and you want to bend their ear. Well, many of them are here tonight, sitting on the front row, and let's introduce the folks who will be representing our elected political leaders tonight. First of all, on the front row of the audience, we have joining us from Jefferson County, the county commissioner from eastern Jefferson County, that is Russ Maple. Next to him, the mayor of New Albany, Doug England, who is also chairman of the Transportation Policy Committee that votes on the bridge site. Next to Doug is Stan Smith, the commissioner for the Indiana Department of Transportation, representing the state of Indiana. Then David Burton, who is a planning director for KIPTA. Representing the 3rd Congressional District in Jefferson County is our Congressman Mike Ward. Then Tom Galligan, who is Jeffersonville, Indiana mayor. Barry Alberts from the mayor's office in the city of Louisville. Bob Popp, who is the Clarksville administrator. And Ralph Guthrie, Clark County administrator. We should note to you at this point that both Mayor Jerry Abramson and the county judge executive, Dave Armstrong, were invited to be on this program. Both declined. Mayor Abramson said that he had a previous commitment to the Clinton-Gore ticket tonight. It is, after all, an election year. And Dave Armstrong told us that he had a scheduling conflict. So neither of those will be with us tonight.
So let's get right to some questions, and we hope a lot of answers tonight. I've got the first question, complete with a visual aid here. This is a very yellow newspaper, not because it's been waiting in my garage, waiting to be recycled, but this is, well, I'll tell you the headline first. It says, "Another bridge across Ohio is proposed." It's yellow because it's August 22nd, 1977. And truer words were never written. It's a long way off, it says, still a little more than a gleam in the planner's eye. But we want to ask our planners and consultants tonight, why has this taken so long? And I believe, Norm, you're one of the historians on this. So what has taken these communities so long to get together on a bridge?
Melissa, a bridge or 2 bridges have been in the transportation plan for the Louisville area for over 30 years. And our plan was last updated in September of 1973. At that time, we recommended a bridge at one of 3 locations, and those are the familiar locations, downtown at I-65, at the Waterston Expressway crossing to I-265 in Indiana, and at the Snyder Freeway. The reason we didn't specify a single location for a bridge in the 93 plan was that at that time the 2 states were involved in a bi-state study of the best location for a new bridge in the Louisville area.
It seems all we've had are studies. A lot of people say this. We studied and studied and studied and studied. Anybody else on the panel? I mean, what has taken so long?
Well, let me, if I may, finish up a thought. When our Transportation Policy Committee realized that this bi-state study between the 2 being conducted by the Transportation Cabinet was at an impasse, actually, in 1994, the local elected officials who are our Transportation Policy Committee directed staff to do whatever was necessary to get a decision brought to finalized for our area. As a result, we then hired JHK and Associates about 10 months later after developing a scope of work for this major investment study that we are involved in now, and we expect this study to be done about the end of this year.
And Steve, you were about to say what's taken so long?
Yes, we do these sort of studies all around the country. There are many difficult issues in any transportation facility like this, both in terms of impacts as well as in terms of how do we spend the public's dollars. The choices are often difficult, especially when you consider the impacts. This one, in a way, is no different than many others, but I believe it's the combination of events and trade-offs that really make this somewhat unique.
Steve, very quickly, did we wait too long? You came from outside. Has this community waited much too long to do this project?
Well, you've never waited too long, but I think sometimes you do pass up opportunities that may present themselves to you. Sometimes there are financing opportunities, for example, and financing is getting much more difficult these days. You don't want to wait any longer in order to make this decision. Otherwise, other opportunities are just going to pass you by.
Let's go to Gene West in the audience. Gene?
Oh, we've been asking the questions as part of the media, and we've heard about the studies and the money and the committees. Now, we have some questions from folks in the audience. This is Calvin Scheck. His question is for Russ Maple. Gary, if you could
Sure.
get to Commissioner Russ to get his answer. What's your question?
Well, first, when you were running for office, you said if you were elected, the bridge would go to the east end. You've been elected, people spoken. Now, why are we still waiting?
I appreciate, I didn't realize I was going to be this important when I become a district commissioner. But this decision is frankly not made by me. I have no vote on the Transportation Policy Committee. My commitment is as it was when I was running, and that is if there's going to be one bridge, that it would go in the east end. And that particular bridge, that location, would be the extension of the Gene Snyder directly across to the Indiana side. But if I had a vote on the Transportation Committee, I would vote for that bridge to be in. Now, my position as a district commissioner is, and as an elected official, is to represent my constituents, and that's what I plan to do and use every bit of influence that I have to be able to see that that's done. On the other hand, if there is a possibility of two bridges, as David Jones and some business people suggested, I think that would be the best solution, but the question there is money. But if there's one bridge, I still support it and will support it in every way that my office will lend any influence to it for that particular location in the East End.
Across the county judge isn't here tonight, but how does the rest of the county fiscal court and the county judge feel about this? Is county government behind the East End Bridge just like you are?
Absolutely. The other two commissioners and Judge Armstrong are supporting an East End Bridge. They were supporting before I came on. I came to the conclusion after talking to the 83 suburban city mayors, the neighborhood council presidents, and the small business association presidents in a district. And by and large, across the board, without question, they were for an East End Bridge.
Gene?
Does that answer your question?
Well, in a way it does, but the roads are there. All we need is the bridge, and that should be first.
I agree with you.
All right, Gary?
All right, thank you very much, Gene. Of course, we've been talking about an East End bridge, but one of the first and real options is a downtown bridge and the reconstruction of Spaghetti Junction that has so long vexed the community. Let's go back to Lawrence Smith, and he'll give us a preview of that option.
A stalled car on I-64 just west of the Kennedy Bridge. Seemingly a small problem. But in Spaghetti Junction during rush hour, there's no such thing as a small problem. The stalled car is blocking one lane and backing up traffic on 3 interstates. Traffic consultant Steve Smith, watching from Sky 11, says it illustrates a problem with the way the junction was designed.
That is one of the problems, just lack of shoulders, lack of maneuvering room. If you break down, it's very difficult to get other traffic by.
And the backup caused by the stalled car creates other problems, like this rear ender. In fact, there are more than double the number of accidents in and around Spaghetti Junction than on other stretches of urban interstate around the country. And further complicating matters, traffic simply trying to merge from one interstate to another.
People from the 71 ramp are just having to force their way into traffic.
All this is why a massive reconstruction of Spaghetti Junction is one option under consideration. It would be combined with construction of a new downtown bridge parallel to the Kennedy, making one bridge northbound and one bridge southbound. Supporters of this option say it does the most to untangle Spaghetti Junction, but it would impact some historic homes in Jeffersonville and cause a major disruption of traffic during construction.
Lawrence Smith, the downtown option. Everybody knows it's a dangerous place. Trucks tipping over. Multiple car and truck accidents are not uncommon. It has, as Lawrence indicated, double the accident rate of any stretch of highway like it in America. Let's go to Gene West for more questions. Gene?
And we have Mr. Fish here, who, that is a concern of his. Your concern is hazardous waste and hazardous materials moving through the downtown area.
That's correct. The information put together by the consultant shows that you're 250 times more likely to have an accident on the interstate system associated with the Kennedy than normal highways. It also shows through extrapolation that you have a load of hazardous materials on I-65 on average every minute in the vicinity of the hospital complex and the college and the high school. So my question is, why is this not a fundamental reason to have an alternative route? The East End, of course, would represent an ideal movement of that out of the...
Liz Clark, can you answer that question?
Actually, it's more appropriately answered by Steve.
We've actually done quite a bit of work on looking at hazardous materials in a couple of different ways. One is the frequency of hazmat incidents, to use the abbreviation. The other is looking at the routing. We did produce information on the various routes that you can get around the region, adding up population and employment exposed, both daytime, nighttime, and so on. And all of that information is available. Basically, what you have to look at is you've got trip distance, and you've got accident rates, and you've got population exposure. And there are pros and cons to the various routes. I can't say definitively, because there are several combinations of routes that you have to deal with, exactly which alternative is the best in that regard.
What is the, do we have any idea, first of all, well, David, do we have any idea what's the best solution for not causing these accidents downtown?
Well, in terms of hazardous materials and so forth, certainly some of the best, the best solution would be one which a lot of other regions around the nation have been working on, namely not even allowing them in that area. For example, if you've traveled in the Indianapolis area, you've seen a hazardous cargo routing direction around portions of the Indianapolis interstate system. So one approach is just not to even let them into the area through approved, very well thought out rerouting designations. So, and that's one particular technique that's being used throughout other major metropolitan areas. For those that have traveled around the nation, they can see that the interstate system at times does go through a major metropolitan area, or sometimes it goes around it. But we would certainly have, at some point in the future, a hazardous material plan.
Do you live in Louisville? Do you work downtown?
No, I work in the East End.
Okay. Did they answer your question?
Yes, they did.
All right. Let's go to Doug and to see if we have any questions coming in by fax or email. Doug?
Gene, we're up to about 2,300 people. About 150 people have communicated with us since we went on the air at 8 o'clock. I'm going to read one thing from a U of L student who just wrote, "Quit arguing about all this. Let's just do something about it now. I'm sure they did not put this much effort into the mess we have now." All right. From U of L, so we know they're learning some good things at the University of Louisville. I'd like to ask David Keever to go to our map. David, you have a wireless microphone, and I'm going to ask you some questions that have been coming in, both from eastern Jefferson County, and we're going to talk about the downtown bridge right now. Can you point to the Watterson Expressway, David? Wayne Harnett of St. Matthew wants to know whatever happened to the option of the bridge that was at the end of the Watterson, which would cross the river to Utica Pike. What happened to that option?
Yes, we did have an option of that particular location. It connected over here at I-265 in Indiana at 62, went approximately along this alignment, crossed the Ohio River in this area, and coupled up along 71 here, approximately 1 mile from the I-71, I-264 interchange.
Now, why did you drop this option?
There were 2 or 3 reasons why this particular option was dropped. One was that there were certain historic sites that were crossed in this particular area. One particular one, the Kroger Blankenbaker house that's right here on the corner. We got very close to that. But I think more importantly, it dealt with some of the traffic engineering and geometric issues in this particular area. Namely, could we put a full interchange in this particular area and not cause congestion problems back at this particular interchange?
All right.
And in looking at it, we found that was a very difficult engineering maneuver to make.
Gotcha on that, David. His other question, also downtown, realistically, wouldn't it be cheaper for Kentucky to build a downtown bridge because of its shorter distance, and it would take less homes, less lawsuits, which you'll most likely have in the Prospect area?
We are doing a full economic analysis of all of these alternatives shown here. Just for an example, looking at the notion of the downtown bridge, right now this is estimated to be about 330 to 340 million, depending upon some slight variations that we're looking at this particular point. The light rail line that's shown in yellow on the map is priced at about 176 million. This goes from the downtown area out towards Sellersburg.
Okay. David, thank you very much. We've had a few faxes about light rail, but not a lot. I want to say that so far, CEO David Jones, according to our fax people and email, is a hero from what he came out. A lot of people think what he did in the CEOs was great, and they want to see more of that kind of straight talking. And our thing isn't exactly scientific, we want to let you know, but since noon today, most overall, people have wanted an east-in bridge. So far, that's the way it's running pretty heavily, but that could change as the conversation changes, and that's what people are telling us through this, that they want to see how the town meeting goes. Gene?
Doug, we have Brian Watson, who lives in New Albany, and you have a question about the downtown bridge proposal.
Right. I want to know how putting the bridge downtown, which already has too much traffic coming in at one time, how it's going to save anything. Wouldn't it be better to divert what we can away from downtown?
That was the question we heard quite a bit in the malls, is they're talking about putting a downtown bridge downtown to ease the congestion downtown. How's that going to work?
Well, all of the alternatives have their various benefits. And you heard the mention about safety in the downtown area. The traffic incident that was referred to in the video that you saw earlier, a lot of the problems in Spaghetti Junction get there because of traffic being stopped, accidents, stalls, and so forth. The redesign of Spaghetti Junction would allow traffic to get around those incidents better, and it would have some benefit just to regular traffic flow through that area. All of them have varying degrees of benefit, and that happens to be the best way of characterizing the benefit of Spaghetti Junction.
Does that answer your question?
But what about while the construction's going on? We had a lot of trouble with just the bridge being fixed. With all this major construction, How long is that going to take? What's going to happen during all this?
That would certainly be a major construction project. The work that's been done on the redesign of Spaghetti Junction has thought through how you would route traffic during those phases. There would be some pain, there's no question about it. You never can take on a major construction project like that without there being some pain. But no pain, no gain.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Melissa. Thank you, Gene. And there's a man on the front row of our panel who might say it's all pain, no gain. But Tom Galligan, the mayor of Jeffersonville, how do you feel about this, the downtown bridge?
Well, I'm not really for the downtown bridge because what it does is it paves Jeffersonville wall to wall in that area. People will not be able to get into Jeffersonville because the traffic will be going so fast and it'll be so congested that you won't be able to get off, and it will just isolate our town. We want to be able to share the wealth with the bridges, so we'd like to see an East End bridge, and we wouldn't mind seeing a West End bridge, a far West End bridge, because we have enough bridges in downtown Jeffersonville, and we want the whole community to develop, not just relieve a little problem in Spaghetti Junction. And when you put a downtown bridge and reconstruct Spaghetti Junction, all you do is move the problems out just a little bit. You'll move them into Jeffersonville, and you'll move them out to the tunnel on 64. You'll move them out on 65, out a little past the hospitals. So all you're really doing is moving the problem and not really solving it. Okay. What we want to do is solve the problem. We want to be a community partner, not take all the abuse. All right. And when you see the sketch that they have, and all the aerials and unders and tunnels and bypasses and all the other things, there's this part of our town that becomes what I call Baghdad. You can't get there from here. And we don't want that. We want to be able to get to our town. We want our people to be able to enjoy Jeffersonville, our riverfront. We want to be able to do the same things that people in Louisville do. We want a bridge on the other end of our town so we can have two entrances.
All right. Thank you very much. That's
Tom
Tom Galligan, the mayor of Jeffersonville. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about another topic that's of interest to Jeffersonville, a lot of areas up and down southern Indiana, north to south, and over here in Louisville, that's light rail. We'll also be talking much, much more about the area we all love to hate, Spaghetti Junction, when we come back with Kentuckiana Connection. Stay tuned.
Channel in September. The stories about you, that affected you, that changed all our lives. Kentuckiana saw it here. WHAS 11. Exclusive. Live. First. Coverage. You can count on Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
Well, I think that this is a great place to live. I think there's a lot of things to do. I think that it's a large city, but in essence, it's not very large. You can do several things in the community here. And I've worked at about 8 different colleges, and this is definitely the best place I've ever been.
Where do you get a hot deal on a cool treat? Dairy Queen. It's the original Blizzard flavor treat, and it's just $1.19. $1.19 for cool and creamy smooth soft serve. Blended with your favorite fruit, cookie, or candy flavors, like Butterfinger candy, Snickers candy, or Oreo cookies. The one and only Blizzard flavor treat, just $1.19 each.
Hot eats, cool treats, we treat you right.
The road looks level, but your car suddenly strains like it's going uphill. Could be your transmission slipping. Is this problem a mountain or a molehill? Stay cool. The expert technicians at Aamco Centers have state-of-the-art diagnostic tools to straighten things out. And half the cars serviced by Aamco Centers don't need a new transmission. So if your car feels like it's going uphill, bring it to someone who's on the level. Aamco, AA, MCO.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back, everyone, to our town hall meeting. I'm Melissa Swan. We are here with a packed house, a lot of people to ask questions of a panel of consultants and a lot of politicians who are here with us trying to give some answers to a very, very delicate and somewhat confusing issue here. And we are concentrating right now on the downtown option for a bridge between southern Indiana and Louisville, Kentucky. And Gene West has another audience member with a question. Gene?
We're talking with Jim Evans, who lives and works in St. Matthews, but you have a question about the downtown bridge.
Well, I have 2 observations. First, because we didn't build the suburban bridges east and south of downtown in the 50s, and then again in the 1980s, that has transformed downtown Louisville into the Ohio Valley Regional Dumping Ground for vehicular exhaust. We require vehicles throughout the region to come and belch their smoke in downtown Louisville. So a downtown bridge is not going to reduce the pollution. Second off, interesting numbers. Frankfort has 5 bridges for 40,000 residents. On a per capita basis, we should have 100 bridges in Jefferson County. Instead, we have 2.5. In conclusion, we need to put Spaghetti Junction on a diet, and it's 30 years too late.
Who can address the problem of emissions, exhaust emissions, and pollution as it concerns cars?
Well, we have something like 40 different criteria that are being used for all of the alternatives to evaluate them one against another. Air pollution is one of those. What tends to happen with the highway improvements is that does tend to increase emissions slightly. No matter which one you're talking about, it does tend to increase emissions. Light rail is the only one of the ones that we're looking at that actually reduces emissions.
Interesting.
Does that satisfy you?
Yes.
All right.
Gene, we were talking about, if we could hold with Steve here just a moment, we were talking about light rail. How many people would a light rail car bring across the Ohio River? In other words, is there a corresponding reduction in traffic we're talking about here?
Well, let me give you an example from St. Louis. Since they've opened the system there, they've got around 10,000 people crossing the river from the Illinois side over into downtown St. Louis. Of course, that's a much larger place, larger downtown, and so on. We've estimated probably in the range of 4,000 to 6,000 would be possible for the Indiana light rail line. That would translate to somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 cars a day.
But now they would have to have some place to park their car, possibly for free on the Indiana side to come across. Is that involved?
Well, but not everyone comes by car. There are people that walk to the stations. There are people that could take the bus to the stations. It's really a mix of how people get to it. But yes, that's true. There would be some parking lots on the other side.
Okay, let's go to Doug Proffitt. Doug?
Thank you, Gary. Speaking of your light rail question, Keith Winters, an urban analysis student at U of L, wrote us about light rail, and he's for it. What your plan there, he likes it. He says, why not use the existing rail bridges for a light rail system across the river, divert traffic away from downtown, and build a system of rail crossing the river. However, we want to get to this subject right now. Where's the mayor? Our email people are now noticing the absence of politicians here, and that brings up a point. This person has written to us, Craig Blair from Jeffersonville, Indiana, wants to know why Mayor Jerry Abramson has missed this meeting. He says he believes the mayor cares more about his own political aspirations in the next 10 years. That's what he's saying. Now, I'd like to ask Barry Alberts a question very quickly. The other day, the mayor told the news channel that he was originally for a downtown bridge, and he's still for that, but now he supports an East End bridge. Barry, why did the mayor now say an East End bridge? What does he really have in mind for that? And I guess he wants two bridges. Is that what his meaning?
Well, I think the mayor has always said that he believes that the downtown Spaghetti Junction problem is an existing problem. It's only going to get worse. It has to be fixed immediately. We can't wait 10 years or 15 years until another facility is done before we start working on that. He's also said for the past couple of years, and he said this publicly in a meeting with Governor Bai about a year ago, that he believes that there's value in moving forward on both projects. We can't let one wait until the other one is done because, as I think somebody said before, you're talking about 8, 10, 12 years before these projects are moving forward. I think his position has always been clear that he's not against an East End bridge, and in fact, he has been, I believe, the only political figure that has come out in favor of moving forward immediately with these two projects. One of the problems that he has found, and I think all of us have found, is that we're in a position we're into a win-lose situation. It seems as if people that support an East End bridge believe that they have to basically kill a downtown bridge for their project to move forward, or vice versa. Given the funding situations that Steve said, where funding is difficult, you're not going to get a large hunk of money at any one time. He believes that the most impressive thing we could do as one community is to move both projects forward, continue to move them on a track so that whenever there's funding available, whenever the opportunities that Steve spoke about are there, that we can get both of those projects moving forward, and we won't have to wait 15 or 20 years for the losing project to be developed. Over a 20-year period, most metropolitan areas look at more than one transportation project to deal with their problems. And I think that's what the mayor's position has been all along.
All right, thank you very much, Barry. I didn't introduce you properly. That's Barry Alberts. He's the mayor's liaison on the bridge issue. Gary?
Okay, Doug, and batten down the hatches, because in a moment we're going to go discuss the East End Bridge options and pros and cons coming up here on Kentuckiana's Connection. Just a moment.
When the newsmakers come to Kentuckiana, the news channel is there for you.
That the Dole, Clinton, and Perot campaigns couldn't ignore. That's why they'll all be in Louisville.
Making it easier for you to understand.
Governor Paul Patton of Kentucky was speaking here. As you know, he's
staying with the story until the very end.
A lot of attention here is tobacco. It is a major issue in this presidential campaign.
You're sounding like a politician. You ready to run for office?
Coverage you can count on. Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
Wouldn't it be nice to get a taste of paradise at a price this low? Get up and go and get a little Long John's right now.
Crunch into one piece of golden batter-dipped fish, juicy all-white chicken, 4 tender shrimp and fries. It's the Paradise Value Meal, and it's an incredible $2.99.
Gotta get a little Long John's fun in the sun. John's a taste of paradise for everyone. John's gotta get a little Long John's. Get a little Long John's right now.
Value City made a buyout that's absolutely amazing. Here's the deal. You can save big on the Smart Crunch Deluxe Abdominal Exerciser that you've seen advertised nationally. It has a tubular steel frame, padded head and armrests, and folds flat in minutes. And $39.99 is a price you can stomach. Don't miss this buyout, because at this price, these will disappear as fast as your waistline.
The road looks level, but your car suddenly strains like it's going uphill. Could be your transmission slipping. Is this problem a mountain or a molehill? Stay cool. The expert technicians at Aamco Centers have state-of-the-art diagnostic tools to straighten things out. And half the cars serviced by Aamco Centers don't need a new transmission. So if your car feels like it's going uphill, bring it to someone who's on the level. Aamco, AA, MCO.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back, everyone. We want to move our discussion now to a topic that generates a lot of comments, a lot of controversy in our communities. That is building an East End bridge. Tonight, Lauren Smith is going to give you an overview of that debate.
The Ormis Committee is looking at 2 possible East End locations for a bridge. One option shoots straight off the end of the Gene Snyder Freeway at US 42, just west of Prospect. It goes through the Shadowwood subdivision and would cross the river just west of a Louisville Water Company settling pool. In Indiana, the bridge would pass near Utica and connect at I-265. The second East End option shoots off the Gene Snyder Freeway a bit further south. The bridge would then traverse a ridge and through some expensive real estate in the Landing subdivision. It would pass through Prospect and cross the river between 2 Louisville Water Company settling pools. This route would pass near a quarry on the Indiana side and connect with I-265. The consultants hired by the Ormis Committee say either of the East End options would allow motorists to completely bypass Spaghetti Junction. One early consultant's report estimates that an East End bridge would divert as much as 20,000 vehicles a day from the Kennedy Bridge, but would not solve the problems in Spaghetti Junction. But there is no question the East End option has the most impact on residents, on the environment, and on historic landmarks.
And we want to get the discussion going about this. Gene West has an audience member with a question. Gene?
We have Mr. Pruitt, who lives and works in Prospect, and he may get run out of town after he says what he's going to say, but you're thinking we should have 2 bridges.
I do. We've had so much conversation about the East End Bridge, and a lot of people in Prospect do not want one, but a lot of my neighbors have said recently that they would not mind having one if it just went straight across. So option 1, I think most people would like to have. But can you have an East End bridge and a downtown bridge at the same time? Is it feasible to do that?
Steve Smith, is it feasible to do that?
Certainly it's feasible, but this goes back to how much money is going to be available to do both. The cost of the East End Bridge is in the $220 million range. The downtown Spaghetti Junction improvement is about $350 million. You add those 2 together, and it's a big chunk of change.
If we can only have 1 bridge, would you mind a bridge in the East End through Prospect?
Well, I would prefer one downtown. I really believe that there's more traffic there, and if you had another bridge, if you just had one, you'd solve more of your problems with the downtown bridge.
Doug?
Thank you very much, Gene. Our email responses continue to pour in. This one we want to show you because it comes from Eastern Jefferson County. We've asked people to give us their zip codes. Tina Shoemate writes to us from the zip code of 40207. This bridge is more important than the airport expansion. No one cried out except the residents affected about being forced from their homes. The government just bought out hundreds of homes. The difference is those homes were valued between $30,000 and $60,000 approximately, and the East End homes are far more valuable. The East End owners still have more money to raise hue and cry over being uprooted. Money still talks volumes. And I got to tell you, on our faxes, the money issue and the wealth disparity is big. People really, this has been a divisive issue, as we've seen. David, can you go to the map real quickly? This is another big question. Speaking of money, we might as well go talk about our taxes and taxpayers. How would this new bridge affect taxpayers on both sides of the river? Would our county taxes increase because of this, or would both states, Indiana, Kentucky, absorb the full cost? This comes from a taxpayer named Noah Tyler.
We are right now completing some of our financial analysis. Haven't quite reached a final conclusion on that. If you look at traditional bridges and the way they've been built between Indiana and Kentucky, it's been a joint sharing of the capital cost for the project. And as Steve mentioned, the particular crossings in this area are running in the range of about $200 million. We are going to look at a wide variety of financial sources that would include potential sources of taxes, such as additional gas taxes, regional taxes. We'll also see whether or not it can be reprogramming or redistribution of existing funds already in the state of Indiana or Kentucky. And certainly we're looking at trying to get a maximum amount of federal contribution. But we've got to recognize that there is dwindling federal contribution in the current congressional climate and probably for many years in the future.
David Buck Johnson is writing us two emails saying, do we know which or how many homes and or businesses will be displaced for each of the options in the East End?
We do, yes. I may have to rely on my colleague Liz Clark, who has done some rather extensive analysis through this particular quarter.
Liz, you can head over there if you like.
Yeah, now I must warn everyone, this is based upon preliminary, very conceptual engineering when we start talking about the numbers of houses. So we're talking about a range of units which could be displaced by these two alternatives which are under consideration. The exact houses that would be displaced and the valuation questions and relocation issues would be addressed much further down the road, so to speak, in the highway planning process than we are at right now.
What's your estimate?
What's our estimate? Well, for the northern alignment in Indiana, there are none, neither businesses nor homes displaced. In Prospect area, there are between 18 and 24 single-family homes, no businesses, and we expect that the construction of the interchange on Highway 42 might very well take the First Baptist Church.
How many historic landmarks?
There's only one historic landmark that is actually taken. That is a house that is the original home associated with the Landing subdivision when it was a farm property prior to its development.
You say single-family homes. I guess you mean big single-family homes?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Can you explain that?
There's a range in the area of the Mayfair Road area near the water treatment plant. There are some medium-sized single-family homes. I mean, it depends on your definition of size here.
Liz, if I could just interrupt you for a moment. I have Mike here who actually lives in that home in the Landing, and he has a question.
I live in the Landing subdivision. I don't live in that historic home. But my question relates to the representation of the people in the East End, particularly Prospect, on the ORMIS committee that's going to be making this decision. The closest voting member on the ORMIS committee lives approximately 10 miles away from Prospect. And the people in the East End have no voting representation on where this East End bridge is going to be routed.
Norm, very quickly, your response to that question.
Well, let me be clear that the Transportation Policy Committee is the committee that's going to be making the final decision. There is representation on that committee for Jefferson County on the part of the Jefferson County judge, and also the Jefferson County League of Cities has a vote on the Transportation Policy Committee. So 2 out of the 19 voting members are representing Eastern Jefferson County. The ORMIS committee itself, which is the advisory committee, does have representation from the League of Cities. I could get into a long story over the voting pattern on that committee, but you're correct. There is not a vote except for Jefferson County government officials on that committee. There's not a separate vote for City of Prospect, the City of Glenview, or any of the cities that might have been affected by this
study some of the smaller cities in the eastern part of the county.
Norm, we need to take a break at this point. We'll continue on this thought when we continue with the East End Bridge option in just a moment. Stay with us.
A mile-long traffic snarl.
Police have obviously blocked off traffic.
Derby Day.
Sky 11, I see it right there. It's high above us.
Severe weather conditions.
Jeff, what does it look like from up there?
Well, Melissa, Chuck said it's coming, and it's definitely coming. It's ominous.
Some things can only be seen from the air. Sky 11, Kentuckiana's only live TV news helicopter. Exclusively on Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
Traffic's looking terrific. This is Officer Al, the motorist pal. Hold the phone. I got northbound backed up to the bridges. Let's see if I can bird dog this snarl. Clarksville Highway 131 is jammed. Figures. Carriage Ford's doing it to me again. Earl Book's just gotta be dealing those cars all the time. Messing with my traffic.
Is Earl Book dealing? You bet. Carriage Ford has 96 Tauruses packed with options, only $13,988. $13,988 Tauruses only at Carriage Ford.
They'll be the first generation to speak a global language. They'll honeymoon on the moon, and each will process billions of gigabytes of information. But before they get to tomorrow, give them what they need today. New Mott Sunboost. Some other juice beverages stop at vitamin C. Mott Sunboost is a one fortified with 5 essential vitamins plus calcium to help kids grow strong and healthy so they can get to other planets or just to school on time. New Mott Sunboost. More to go on, more to grow on.
Get the fine home furnishings you want at the guaranteed lowest prices now during the super sale at Value City Furniture. Like this handcrafted Italian leather sofa, just $549. You save $450. Pay just $477 for this modern 4-piece bedroom. Or how about a 72-inch bookcase in your choice of colors, only $29. Act now because prices like these can't last long. During the super sale at Value City Furniture, where high quality and low price meet.
I had a red itch. I had tried Benadryl. I switched to Gold Bond medicated cream.
A clinical study showed that at 10 minutes, Gold Bond relieved the itch more effectively than Benadryl.
Gold Bond medicated cream took the itch right away.
Gold Bond medicated cream. No faster itch relief.
I'm a doctor, a mother, and a woman. As a doctor, I've trusted the Phisoderm name for years. As a mother, I keep new Phisoderm antibacterial on hand at home. As a woman, I love how it makes my hands feel. Phisoderm antibacterial. Doctors trust it, germs hate it, hands love it.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back, everyone. We're into our first hour of this 2-hour marathon session talking about a new bridge for Jefferson County, somewhere between downtown and eastern Jefferson County. Let's go back to Liz Clark, who had not finished her point, because there are 2 options for an eastern Jefferson County bridge. And we were talking about homes and businesses and historic landmarks, Liz, being removed. Go ahead and pick it up where we broke for the break.
Well, I think we had summarized the number of single-family homes in both Indiana and Kentucky for the northern alignment. And then we were bringing up the issue of historic sites along the northern route. And in fact, along the northern route, we really don't have that many that we know of at this time. We've done a thorough analysis of existing documented historic sites and archaeological sites in all of these corridors. And that study has revealed that there is a cemetery along this northern alignment, which may or may not be affected by the route, which would be determined during final design. And then there is, as I said before, this one house here that goes with the landings. And there is a third house, which is a potentially significant house that has not yet been through the full historic evaluation, that's located in the vicinity of Wolf Pen Branch Road, which is right along the edge of the road, and may not be actually taken, but would be impacted visually.
Liz, people in Prospect, I know, wake up in the middle of the night worried about this clover leaf. You said it would take the First Baptist Church in Prospect. It might take the new fire station. It might take the marina.
It's not that large.
It's not that large, but Prospect isn't that large. You put a clover leaf in the middle of that little town, and there's not going to be much left of it, I don't think.
Well, I don't believe it's a cloverleaf, and I think Steve might be a better person to describe what the configuration of that would be.
In situations like this, you try to keep the impacts as small as possible. In this case, it would be a diamond interchange, of which you have numbers of them around here. Typically, 4 acres or so you could get by with if you design it very tightly.
Okay.
And it would go in the field next to First Baptist Church. But if it's, depending on the design and the site conditions, it's a possibility the church itself might have to be taken in order to fit it in.
Okay. Gene West?
We have a question from Chris Toby, who lives in Crescent Hill. He has a question about economic development that you think is missing from this discussion of the East End Bridge option.
Yeah, the reason the Middletown Chamber of Commerce, Jeffersontown Chamber of Commerce, and Southern Indiana Chamber of Commerce, along with unions, almost every union on both sides of the river, have endorsed the I-265 East End Bridge because of all the jobs it would bring to this community. And this whole job equation, economic development, seems to be missing from this study. It seems to be completely traffic-oriented and doesn't really take the impact of all the jobs that would be added with the East End location.
David?
Yes, we're currently under the economic analysis portion of our study at this particular time. There are 2 aspects to the economic analysis that I'd like to point out as it relates to your question. One is the amount of employment or new business that would come into the region in general. And when we've looked at other major metropolitan areas over the last 30 years, we find that when you put a major transportation facility, such as the amount that we're talking about in the hundreds of millions of dollars, particularly to help complete portions of a regional network, that it is not possible to make with definitive statements any kind of conclusion about the level of employment associated with that major transportation investment. And the reason is that there are a number of factors associated with businesses locating fresh or new in a regional area. Transportation is certainly one of the key factors, but it's dependent upon the skill base, the tax base, the type of zoning, rules, regulations, about 20 to 30 different types of factors that affect it. That's not to say, and this is the second part of your particular question, is along a particular corridor, such as one either in the East End Bridge or even along the improvements in the downtown area, we would expect to see some very corridor-specific development and improvement. But in terms of looking at it from the total regional perspective, we tend to see not that significant a change in total regional employment.
David, what do you mean corridor specific? What does that really mean?
Well, by corridor specific, I mean something, for example, within, say, a half a mile to a mile along a new facility. And that particularly occurs at new interchanges where there's ease of access to or from a major highway facility.
All right, David, I don't know that we answered Chris's question.
Well, no, it still seems to be kind of a cop-out that we since we can't measure how many jobs are going to compute, we're just going to ignore it. And I'm going with the fact I believe if the unions and Chamber of Commerce both believe it's going to bring jobs to this community, then I'm going to believe them and go that direction.
One particular reason why JHK team was hired for this particular job is we're from out of town. We have no particular bias and so forth. In fact, when we looked at over 55 previous data collection efforts or previous studies and so forth, some of which Melissa referred to a little bit earlier, what we found is that some of the previous analysis that was conducted may not have been done in the most methodologically correct, or the analysis may not have been done as best as it could have been. And some of those numbers are still sort of floating around, so to speak. But what we have done is taken a look at all those previous data collections and analyses. Our only particular point about this is when we look at the total region, we cannot say with guarantee to your elected officials that if you were to put $200, $300, $400 million of investment in regional transportation improvements, that we could guarantee you a X amount of employment or improvement.
Okay, and David, Tom Gallagher, the mayor of Jeffersonville, you want to talk about jobs?
When you look at the plan, when you bring the downtown bridge into Jeffersonville, isn't it also true that if you have so much traffic that you can't get on or off without ease, and it's real difficult to get through, that people do not locate there and do not want to go to that area? Because that's what we're looking at with the downtown bridge scenario in Indiana, in Jeffersonville.
There are incentives and disincentives for businesses locating in particular areas, and your point is quite correct. If the condition is such that it's hard for employees to get there or patrons of particular businesses, then they will avoid those areas, yes.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to be talking more about an East End option for Kentuckiana on Kentuckiana Connection when we return. Stay tuned.
Lots are coming on tonight. Are you ready for some football? Just a Friday night party.
This week, Kroger's having a Sizzler sale. Stock up on sizzling hot specials like boneless chuck roast, just 98 cents a pound. Family packs of Perdue boneless chicken breasts are only $1.99 a pound. Family packs of choice T-bone steaks are just $3.99 a pound. Golden ripe bananas are only 28 cents a pound. And 12 packs of Coke products are just 2 for $5. The Kroger Sizzler sale. It's hot.
Wouldn't it be nice to get a taste of paradise at a price this low? Get up and go and get a little Long John's right now.
Crunch into one piece of golden batter-dipped fish, juicy all-white chicken, 4 tender shrimp and fries. It's the Paradise Value Meal, and it's an incredible $2.99.
Gotta get a little Long John's fun in the sun. John's a taste of paradise for everyone. John's gotta get a little Long John's. Get a little Long John's right now.
Before they could walk, they wanted to dance. Before they could talk, they wanted to sing. But they needed a lot of heart and desire before they could get to Broadway and make it on a chorus line. Now, the Broadway legend is back and on tour. So call now for tickets to see the show that's won more awards than any other. A chorus line, one singular sensation.
A PNC Bank Broadway Series presentation.
At the Bristol Bar and Grille, our exciting new menu entrees are not mere collections of ingredients. They're personal expressions of our chefs' training, tastes, and passion.
What's your plat cuisiné? Dans les arènes? ¿Dónde te aprendiste tu Dios de cocinar? Que cocinaste toda la vida. Perfect. C'est bon. Bueno, buenísimo.
Bristol Bar and Grille, through 3 decades, a Louisville landmark.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back, everyone. We're going to continue the debate. East End Bridge, Downtown Bridge, 2 bridges. We don't know yet, but we want to talk about something very briefly here. We've heard from the mayor of Jeffersonville about what he thinks will be a devastating economic impact to Jeffersonville if there is a downtown option, if we go for a downtown bridge. Liz Clark, can you tell me, are you studying the economic impact of Jeffersonville? Do you know what that may be?
Actually, that's not something that I particularly have dealt with. I think that JHK and
Well, there
can
are
better
two
answer that.
elements. One is there certainly is an impact in downtown Jeffersonville. There is an upstream option and a downstream option. Basically, the way this would work is you use the existing Kennedy Bridge as one way in either direction, and the new bridge in the other direction. The major impacts would be in terms of, if you're on the upstream side, we have the historic district. We do have several homes that would be taken. There is a handicapped residential facility, and several other impacts up the line, a couple of businesses. On the downstream side, there is the harbors. It's the apartment complex, 184 units. And those are the major historic and displacement impacts. And then the circulation, there would be more traffic going through that area. That is true.
From what you've been doing as a consulting firm, can you relate then to what these people from Jeffersonville are saying? Is it's a harsh economic impact that they would realize if there's a downtown bridge?
The question is how to characterize the impact. There certainly is impact, and a lot of it has to do with taking greater width. Here there would be about 130 additional feet, 150 additional feet between here and the bridge, and so right at the waterfront with the parks and so on, there is that impact. How much of it is truly economic is the real question.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Jean West. She has another audience member with a question.
Well, actually, we've been debating this, where to put this bridge for 20 years. If you pick up the paper, you'll see it in the headlines. If you turn on the news, you'll see it on the news. But if you picked up Sunday's paper, you probably saw this editorial cartoon. Take a look at this. Do we have the cartoon? You may have seen this in Sunday's paper. It says, looks like we may need 3 bridges. You see East End, South End, West End. And the illustrator is Nick Anderson. We have him here with us. What were you trying to do with that cartoon?
I was trying to use a suggestion that we needed 2 bridges, and I decided to expand on that and make a comment about our socioeconomic divisions in the community.
Do you think that comes into play when we debate where to put a bridge?
Yeah, I think it manifests itself in that it feeds the perception that people who have the money in the East End also have the power.
Thank you very much. Nick Anderson with the Courier-Journal here, and we will be back. We're ending our first hour of discussion on Kentuckiana Connection. We'll be back with more discussion of the East End Bridge right after this.
Okay, so what is the best way to start your Kentuckiana day?
With Good Morning Kentuckiana and Good Morning America. I'm Joan London.
And I'm Charles Gibson.
And I'm Barry Burnson. Together we've got the news and information you'll need for the day ahead. Starting at 5:30, join me and Rachel Platt for the news, weather, sports, and traffic of Kentuckiana.
And then at 7, keep it right here on the News Channel for the news and information from the rest of your world.
Good Morning Kentuckiana at 5:30.
Good Morning America at 7.
Both right here on WHAS 11.
Kentuckiana's News Channel.
Where do you get a hot deal on a cool treat? Dairy Queen. It's the original Blizzard flavor treat, and it's just $1.19. $1.19 for cool and creamy smooth soft serve. Blended with your favorite fruit, cookie, or candy flavors, like Butterfinger candy, Snickers candy, or Oreo cookies. The one and only Blizzard flavor treat, just $1.19 each.
Hot eats, cool treats. We treat you right.
In the quest for lower prices and better values, only one name is known throughout the galaxy. Out-of-this-world savings at Smith's Furniture, Appliance, and Electronics.
Now get $50 to $100 factory rebates on select model Maytag refrigerators. Like this Maytag Deluxe 17 cubic foot size with $50 rebate. Your final cost only $549.
Savings that are out of this world. Now at Smith's Furniture, Appliance, and Electronics.
Big Lots presents a Closeout Halloween.
Let's go to Closeout Man's house. He's got the best stuff.
Boo! Happy Halloween! There's plenty for everyone because I bought loads of super deals like these.
Stock up now while the selection's good on name brand candy. Just $1.40 for a bag. Show Team Pride. Embroidered fleece tops are just $7.99. And dine in style with a 20-piece fine china dinnerware set. Not $25, just $16.99 at Big Lots.
There's new stuff every week, so come and get it.
Johnson & Johnson, I think that's more like a baby powder. I just put on the Gold Bond powder and it has that medicated feeling.
Unlike ordinary powders, Triple Action Gold Bond medicates, absorbs, and dries.
I lost the itch right away.
Triple Action Gold Bond, more than a powder, it's medication.
I'm a doctor, a mother, and a woman. As a doctor, I've trusted the Phisoderm name for years. As a mother, I keep new Phisoderm antibacterial on hand at home. As a woman, I love how it makes my hands feel. Phisoderm antibacterial. Doctors trust it, germs hate it, hands love it.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
Welcome back to Kentuckiana Connection. I'm Gary Rodemeyer along with the rest of our Kentuckiana News Channel staff. Tonight here, 2 hours of talk about the bridge, the bridges, and now we're talking about the East End Bridge option. Let's go back to Steve Smith. Steve, we've been talking so far about many of the negatives about an East End Bridge, and as you know, there are a few. What benefits would the community reap from an East End Bridge? What do you think recommends this route for us?
Well, that's an interesting question because this is a regional network. One of the things that an East End Bridge does, it is the most, I would say, transportation efficient or efficiency improving alternative. What I mean by that is you've got two things going on. You've got a new route, first of all, and so it is, in effect, a shortcut. You also are diverting some of that traffic, and the heaviest movements that are diverted are the ones, as you can imagine, that are now doing that. And so what tends to occur, you get a ripple effect. You not only have this new route, the new bridge would be projected to carry about 40,000 cars a day in 20 years or so. And then that ripple effect involves removing some traffic from the downtown bridge, freeing up some of that capacity, and so this area would move at least somewhat better at that point.
And Steve, when you refer to all of this, are you talking about either East End option? I mean, we have two East End options. Can you tell us about the blue option? Is that the same? Does it hold true?
Well, both of them, in terms of transportation efficiency, do about the same thing. And so what the choice between these two really gets down to is the impacts. What are the impacts in terms of displacement, costs, and so on?
Is there less displacement with the blue option as we have, the one that goes straight from 265 to 265?
Well, again, all of these numbers are preliminary, and Liz actually has more of these in her head than I do.
Okay.
There are some, and Liz will talk about what they are.
The blue alternative, or the middle alternative as we refer to it, has somewhere between 15 and 28 single-family displacements associated with it in Kentucky. The large majority of those are from the Shadowwood subdivision, which is passed through in this location right here. As we go across the river, we take a few in Utica, a few outside of the town of Utica, and a few in a settlement area along Old Salem Road, for a total of somewhere between 8 and 21. Comparatively, if we were to look at the red line versus the blue line, the big difference, first of all, is that there are a lot of, 8 to 21 units displaced in Indiana as opposed to none when you compare the blue line to the red line. If you look at the single-family homes in the two East End alternatives, they could end up being equal. However, if you take the high end of each of the two ranges, there would actually be a few more displacements on the middle alternative, or the blue line.
With the blue line. All right, thank you very much, Liz. Let's go to Jean West, who has an audience member with a question.
We have Miss Sleep, who lives in Prospect, and your question is about that second East End Bridge option.
Right. My question would be to anybody on the panel this evening. I'd like to know, we've been talking about this bridge being talked about for the last 20-plus years, and the natural progression has always been off of the Gene Schneider. I guess I'd like to find out at what point did we decide to put into a second East End option, and why? It seems as though it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the red line against the blue line, and it's a far bigger line. And as Liz said, the numbers are equal. Or actually, the red line takes 8 to 24 homes, where the blue line takes, if I'm correct, I think she said 8 to 21 homes. And potentially a cemetery through the red line. It just doesn't make sense to me that we would even continue to consider this option. Who can explain?
So your question is, why did you come up with that second East End option?
Right.
We looked at a wide range of options when we first started our study, and through a variety of workshops, work sessions, and so forth. In fact, the very nice one that we had out in Prospect approximately a month ago with the City Council, we explained some of the options and those that we have arrived at. In about 6 weeks, JHK will be making a recommendation on the alternative that would be the most promising for the region, namely what that preferred investment strategy ought to be. So at this particular point, you're quite right. When you look at it, it's a longer route. It's approximately 6 to 7 miles, the red route. The blue route is approximately 5 to 6 miles. Obviously, the red route would be more expensive. But when we do these types of studies, we look at a broad range of alignments, and we have not yet reached our final determination at this point, nor has the Ormus Committee.
How much difference are we talking about in cost, David?
The cost range is about $197 approximately for the blue route, and it's about $215, again, using some round numbers for the red route.
Does that answer your
Almost $20 million?
That's correct.
Okay.
So it costs more, it's longer. Why is it a good option?
Liz has the answer to
that. Go, Liz.
I'm not going to say why it's a good option. I'm just going to add to David's explanation as to why we added it. The reason why is primarily because this area, all in through here, has one of the largest concentrations of National Register historic sites anywhere in the country. And we are required, under the federal requirements for highway planning, to seek out alternatives that do not affect those sites. Therefore, we were looking for a path through this area that would provide a connection from here to here that avoided those historic sites. That question must be asked at some point, and it was imperative that we ask that at this time.
So there might be less red tape with blue.
This was the only line that we could find that went actually between what you might call the neighborhoods of Prospect. And if you live in Prospect, it may not feel like it's going between neighborhoods, but it is in fact located to go between Fox Harbor and the landings, as opposed to through either one of those communities.
Liz, what happens if you have to take out a historic house? Can you move it? Do you have to tear it down? Do you have to get special dispensation? What do you have to do?
You have to reach agreement with the State Historic Preservation Officer and the various regulatory entities in Washington if it's on the National Register. And there is a very significant National Register property known locally as Drummonard right here. You can't see it from the road because it's set back in. It's off of Wolf Pen Branch. And there's another very large property, Bellevue, which runs from River Road all the way out to the river, which is
Elizabeth,
also...
I have if I can get a follow-up question from Ms. Sleep.
Actually, it's just a comment. You had said that it runs between the two. It actually enters the landing. As the way it was diagrammed, and it runs diagonally through the back half of it and also goes through a part of Fox Harbor. So in a sense, you are correct, it runs through both. But it still, to me, does not make sense that in conjunction with having it go completely all the way around, you know, opposed to going directly through the, where the Gene Schneider connection is, you're taking the middle of Prospect right out. You're dividing the town in half.
Excuse me. It's important to remember that the purpose of what we are doing right now is to point out the issues that are of concern to the community within the context of this planning process, which is what we're doing here. And had we not put that line through there, we would never have heard all of your concerns. Now, when we go forward with any alternative, all the decision makers who are going to select this alternative now know what the issues are to the community and the range of impacts associated with a reasonable set of alternatives. It is incumbent on us to identify alternatives that avoid, mitigate, and minimize. And the alternative that we put through here was an attempt to avoid a certain type of impact, and then now we find it has another type of impact. And it's our job to document what those effects are. It's the decision maker's job to decide what's important to the community and make a choice.
All right, Liz, thank you very much. Liz and Ms. Sleep. We're going to go to Doug Proffitt now, who's got some comments. Doug?
Gene, if it makes your guests feel any better, our email comments are now reflecting the same question she asked. People do not understand the red line on the map. They wonder why not just connect the end of the Gene Schneider to the other end. It makes more sense. We're going to get to that with a couple of questions just first a moment, but I think we need to give Jacob Allen, who is a senior attending South Oldham High School, a round of applause. This is what he sent us in on his home computer. In the famous words of Nike, just do it, whatever it is. All right, there's from a senior at South Oldham. Now, as I read this one, if we could also show the map, our photographer over there is Doug Smith. This man, Harold Phillips from Dixie Highway, says, look at the two roads as they end. 265 on one side, 265 on the other. We suckered Indiana into building their roads to connect with it, so now we should finish the circle around the metropolitan area. Norm? All right. I think people are a little looser at their homes, don't you all think? They're sending us, they're sitting back in their lounge chairs, and they're sending us the questions. Norm, this person says, isn't that why the expressway was originally designed like it is and currently ends at 42 to connect someday with the bridge? Historically, can you tell us real quickly, is that the reason why?
As I said, a connector between the Schneider Freeway and I-265 in Indiana has been a part of a long-range plan for this area for decades.
So, when we look at the map, everybody says to me in these messages, just do what the map says. That's what the map was drawn for.
Doug, if we could, let's go quickly to Stan Smith from the Department of Transportation over in Indiana. Stan, did we sucker you into putting this road down? What is your outlook? You had planned to have a bridge crossing here, I assume.
Absolutely. We've always considered the connection on both sides of the river very important. The 265 to make the belt, to complete the beltway. So it's been part of the long-range plan to consider doing something like this. And by the way, the governor has come out in support of this effort, and he's started the environmental impact statement study to continue this process.
Would you necessarily be against a downtown bridge or two bridges in Indiana?
No, I'm not against it, but I think if you give them a chance to explain the alternatives, which includes some rework of the Spaghetti Junction along with the East End, it will pretty much satisfy those needs of two bridges.
All right. Stan Smith, thanks for coming down and being with us tonight. Gene, back to you.
Yeah, we have a question from Dan Schomer, who lives in Prospect, and this question is going to be directed to Liz.
Yes, ma'am. I've lived there 18 years, and I always thought that the blue line was where the bridge was going to go, and that's why I built my house in the landings. And I understand about 5 years ago, approximately, that Dale Orem devised this red line going through the landings. And if you come out to the landing subdivision, And we're in a valley. We got about 85% encirclement with ridges and hills and valleys. You get a lot of echoing. You're not going to take out 1824 homes. You're going to take out the entire subdivision with pollution and noise, destroy all the wildlife. And have you people actually been to the subdivision and studied this? I've asked questions. I've never gotten an answer to that.
We've been there, definitely been there. The route that's actually on the maps, which we have been working with the engineers, places the road on the wooded hillside between Fox Harbor and the landings, and therefore it technically does not go through the center of the landings. It wraps around the community recreation site where the little marina is and goes through there. And there are still some homes that haven't even been built in some of the lots that it goes through.
About maybe 1 or 2 lots, but you're still inside that hill, you're inside that valley, and
yes.
You're creating a lot of noise.
And there are impacts.
I mean, if you put it in the middle or the side, you're still going to get a tremendous amount of noise.
That's correct.
All right. All right, thank you both very much. And what we should point out is that right now these are the options that JHK is looking at. They have not made an official recommendation. That is coming November 11th, they tell me. I've asked them to reveal it tonight live here on the air at our town meeting, but they have respectfully declined. We will be back to talk about more of these bridges, the debate and the controversy, plus how are we going to pay for these bridges or this one bridge? What about a toll? Is that possible? All when we come back after this.
Channel in September. The stories about you, that affected you, that changed all our lives. Kentuckiana saw it here. WHAS 11. Exclusive. Live. First. Coverage. You can count on Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
At PNC Bank, we listened when our customers asked for more convenience, and we answered.
PNC Bank.
With PNC Bank Direct, now you can use the phone to pay bills, get a loan or mortgage, and more.
I'd like to open a CD.
Bank by PC or visit our website or use an ATM. PNC Bank Direct lets you do all your banking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at home, in your office, or while you're driving.
Hello, Mr. Palmer.
The Glass Doctor's mobile glass shops come to you wherever you are, whether it's for replacement or repair. Let the Glass Doctor replace your fogged double-pane glass units at a fraction of the cost of window replacement. And when it comes to mirrors, our pride is reflected in our work. Call the Glass Doctor for your auto, home, or business glass needs. Convenient financing, including 90 days same as cash for retail customers, direct billing to insurance companies, and the Glass Doctor may even finance your deductible. The Glass Doctor in the Yellow Pages. USDA inspected jumbo pack assorted pork chops, $1.59 a pound. Betty Crocker tuna or hamburger helper, 99 cents. Tropicana Season's Best 100% pure orange juice, 2 for $3. Field sliced bologna, 99 cents. And 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, Diet Pepsi or Pepsi-Cola, 2-liter bottle, 79 cents.
Get Value Market. You've got savings in the bag.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back to Kentucky Connection. First of all, in this program, we were talking about one bridge, then 2 bridges, then rebuilding Spaghetti Junction, then light rail. Well, now we're up to about $500 million. How do we pay for all that? walk with me as I take you to Washington. And our 3rd District Congressman, Mike Ward. Mike, I know funds are tight in Washington. Everybody talks about budget cuts rather than budget expansion. What are the possibilities of paying for, with some federal help, these bridges as we see them tonight?
Well, we're going to have to be very creative as a community to come up with the kind of money we're talking about, even if we just do one of the two options. There isn't this kind of money lying around near the way there was before. But more importantly than that, we are going to have to be united as a community. And the one thing that I came down here tonight to express, and I appreciate the invitation to listen to this is very beneficial, is that we need the community to come together, make a decision, and set those of us in motion who do this. Because when I'm told where the goal line is, I'll run toward it just the way I have with Naval Ordnance or Printing House for the Blind. That's what I do as an advocate for the community.
Do you
but
favor?
Only when the community can come together and tell us what the community wants through the Transportation Committee of KIPTA and then through the state government.
Well, are you willing to take a side here tonight? East End, downtown, what's your favorite?
I just want to be told where the community wants to go, and I'll run toward that goal like hell. But that's been, honestly though, that's been my position all along. The community did not hire a transportation expert when they elected me to Congress. They hired an advocate. That's what I do really well, and that's what I'll do whichever way the community wants.
You know, I know there's a half-built bridge down at Owensboro, Kentucky, lacking federal funds. I mean, if they've got a half-built bridge down there and can't even get it built, how can we build two?
That's why it's going to have to be real creative. The question in Owensboro is that Congressman Natcher, for whom we've now named the bridge, incidentally.
The half-built bridge.
The Natcher Bridge site does have pilings, posts to put the bridge on, but it was his feeling as the chairman of the Appropriations Committee and ranking member moving his way up that you shouldn't allocate all the money at one time to be spent over the future years. So he advocated doing it 1 year at a time, even though it was right in his district. Because of that, the money slowed up and it hasn't gotten finished. That's one of the fears I have about Louisville's plans.
All right. Thank you, Mike Ward. Gene?
We're talking about money. We have this gentleman who lives in Prospect. Tell us your name.
Lee Tucci.
And your question.
My question relates to the cost breakout. Right now that there are 3 bridge alternatives under consideration, they're not all on an apples-to-apples basis. 2 of them involve a complete restructuring of Spaghetti Junction, which, as far as I can figure out, is over $100 million. Third alternative is shown as much cheaper, but only has a partial breakout. I think to have a fair economic evaluation and an evaluation of the relative benefits all the way down the line, we need to look at downtown with a partial restructuring of Spaghetti Junction, as well as East End was a partial restructuring. So I'd like to hear the consultant's comments on that.
Let's break out the cost. In fact, I'll go over the map and do that real quickly for you. We do have a full cost breakout, so we are looking at apples to apples. If we were to look at the downtown bridge, the Kennedy Bridge, as Steve had mentioned earlier, it's approximately $330 to $350 million. So that the component itself is about $50 million for the bridge itself.
Your mic is going out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. About $50 million just for the bridge itself. The improvements to the Spaghetti Junction run on the order of about $250 million. So understand the relative components there. And obviously there's some improvements on the Indiana side in order to make the connections also to a new downtown bridge. So that's the first aspect of it. While I'm here in the downtown area, let me quickly hit the light rail line. It's a $176 million investment to do approximately a $15 million light rail line. And that would be using existing right-of-way, very, very cost-effective approach to making that particular type of a capital investment. Let's go down the East End real quickly. As Steve had mentioned, the costs there are approximately in the $200 million, $200 or $20 million, depending upon whether the red alignment being the more expensive one, because it's approximately 6 to 7 miles, and the less expensive being the blue one. Again, the bridge component of that is approximately on the order of about $50 million. So most of it is on interchanges and other land connections. So we're doing an apples-to-apples type of comparison.
What about a toll for this bridge, wherever it may be?
If we were to do a toll, we would be looking at a toll which uses automatic vehicle identification technology. This is a new type of technology that many regional areas are starting to look at now as a means of supplementing traditional sources of funds. Obviously, as a toll, it would charge those individuals using that specific facility. So you would see toll facilities located on one or both sides of a particular crossing. That kind of detail would work out later in the engineering design aspects.
All right. Thank you, David. Gary?
We have about 35 minutes to go in our Kentuckiana Connection tonight. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Stay with us.
Where can you find a fairy tale autumn? New Albany, Indiana, the 1996 Harvest Homecoming Festival. It all kicks off at the annual parade, Saturday, October 5th. 9 days of events and entertainment follow. The 5K and balloon race, pumpkin decorating and harvest baking contest, and much more. Plus, don't forget booth days. Get ready for fall fun and food at its finest. The 1996 Harvest Homecoming Festival, October 5th to the 13th. Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
Compare Kroger.
The prices are a lot lower than Winn-Dixie.
On Sunday, September 29th, Kroger made a very interesting comparison. A price comparison of 15 basic meat, produce, and grocery items found at Kroger and Winn-Dixie. At Kroger, you paid $56.73. At Winn-Dixie, you paid $85.96. The Winn-Dixie total was higher by over 39%, which shows you why more people shop at Kroger.
If you think KFC just served the Colonel's original recipe chicken, think again. There's plump, juicy, tender roast, our new roasted chicken served in pieces, and the Colonel's crispy strips freshly prepared all day. At KFC, our menu is getting so big you might need a bigger table.
Everybody needs a little KFC.
Now fill your plate with 2 pieces of new tender roast or 3 Colonel's crispy strips, plus mashed potatoes, gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit at a special September price, just $2.99.
It's gonna be a smash! The Super Saturday Price Smashing Sale at Furniture Liquidators Home Center. All prices are smashed Saturday from 9 to 9 on all your favorite brands at our guaranteed lowest prices. And check out this smashing deal. Pay no interest and no down payment with no payments until 1997. Don't miss the Super Saturday Price Smashing Sale, because it's a smash hit.
Furniture Liquidators Home Center. Saving you more.
This is no ordinary instant lottery game. This is Super Sevens, with a chance to win up to 7 times on each $2 ticket. Super Sevens pushes a lottery player's stamina, mental toughness, and courage. The road is hard, but the rewards are great. The top prize is $70,000. But can players elude exhaustion's vice-like grip to scratch off 3 sevens in a row? The answer lies ahead, because somebody's gonna win. Might as well be you.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
Welcome back to Kentuckiana Connection, everyone. We're in the final half hour. Mike Ward, you put yourself on the hot seat, my friend. The faxes and the emails are burning up because they, in this person's quote, "I do not believe the public has received a satisfactory explanation from people like Mike Ward." We've had Jerry Abramson tell us where he wants the bridge at least, Dave Armstrong, the Indiana governor. Mike, why can't you tell us which location you support for the bridge? And I have a follow-up question, sir.
Well, let me tell you, it'd be easy as pie to take the political way and choose a site for the bridge and say, yeah, I'm a transportation expert, and I'm going to go the way the polls say to go.
You've lived here all your life. These guys have too. Which one do you favor?
Look at the effort that's going in to decide which one makes the most sense for the community. I can't have done that. I don't understand why people can't accept the fact that I'm truly wanting to know which way makes the most sense economically, in terms of long-term development, in terms of cost, and in terms of pain and suffering.
You realize why there's the interest and pressure on you. You're the U.S. congressman. You're a powerful position now. Also, you mentioned option. Do you want 1 bridge or 2 bridges? That's another question that came into us.
In the long term, we absolutely need 2. The question is, how do we proceed to build them? But let me tell you about the powerful position issue. I don't have any power over where the Federal Highway Administration builds the bridge. As you've heard from Norm, this is a decision that's made by the Regional Development Authority called KIPTA.
Okay.
You've got the mayor of New Albany here, who's chairman of that transit.
And actually has a vote in all of
He
these.
actually has a vote.
So you're admitting...
What my job is, right, I'm admitting I'm not the powerful one to decide where the bridge...
Mike Ward's
but
admitting he's powerless. I think that's the first.
I'll tell you what I am saying is that I'm the guy who needs to carry the ball for this community as we move forward, as I already have with Lee Hamilton. We've already gotten some money into a budget to do some of the preliminary work that we're doing now.
Okay, good
so
job,
quickly,
Mike. Thanks
let's
a lot.
talk to someone who does have a vote over here. Doug Eaglin, you told us in the break, you're chairman of this committee. You've got a vote on where this thing goes. Where are you going to vote?
I will be voting for an East End Bridge and approximately $20 to $40 million to redo Spaghetti Junction. Not the $237 million we're talking about for another bridge in the Cloverleaf down there. That would be the injustice we've talked about before when we was on the air about what we do to Jeffersonville, Clarksville. You cannot do that.
But you're talking about the bridge that goes through Prospect without the Cloverleaf. That's what you'll vote.
That's exactly. You know, and as some of the residents said earlier that called in, said, the proposal is easy. Our forefathers laid it out. You know, and the little joke, the quip about we duped Indiana into building to our river. Well, it's a fact, and it doesn't take really, right? You read the audience. These people write in, they're calling in, they're certainly bright students saying, put it, and like they say, just do it. You know, we've done this before. You know, we didn't mind some years ago, some 30-plus years ago, to build a Sherman-Minton Bridge through a historical town called New Albany, through a golf course, through Shawnee Golf Course, all up through the knobs, cut through a hill. You know why it was done? For progress of the community. And we didn't sit down and cry like some neighborhoods are doing now. We're not going to do it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Gene West now has an audience member question. Gene? All right, here we go. We're going to just take some questions. This gentleman is on the Prospect City Council.
Right. We've talked about routing traffic around the city. We have a bypass now. If truck traffic comes up I-65 heading north, it can take I-264 west, go across the Sherman-Minton Bridge, and hook back up to 65. We're not routing the truck traffic that way now. Our city and county government's not forcing the traffic that way. If you put a route the other way that's twice as long, why do you think the trucks are going to use that if they're not using the short route now?
All right, Steve,
Well,
is going to go to the board.
As
Answer that.
usual, questions have complicated answers sometimes. We'll try to keep this very simple. Trucks we have looked at. We've probably looked at trucks as much as any other issue in this project. And it's true, as far as distance goes, there are some trade-offs. But if you look at the total benefits, so to speak, of the East End alternatives, it shows that as far as transportation efficiency goes, it is one of the most beneficial of all. It doesn't benefit every truck, but it does benefit some trucks, and so you have to take the whole package together.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll be back with more of Kentuckiana Connection right after this. Please stay tuned. We'll have your comments and more of the controversy.
Life. Unexpected, entertaining, extreme,
It's unpredictable.
dynamic, authentic.
Stay with us and stay ahead.
American Journal with Nancy Glass. News at the speed of light.
American Journal, weeknights at 7 on WHAS 11.
When the newsmakers come to Kentuckiana, the news channel is there for you.
That the Dole, Clinton, and Perot campaigns couldn't ignore. That's why they'll all be in Louisville.
Making it easier for you to understand.
Governor Paul Patton of Kentucky was speaking here, as you know, he's
Stay with the story until the very end.
A lot of attention here is tobacco. It is a major issue in this presidential campaign.
You're sounding like a politician. You ready to run for office?
Coverage you can count on. Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
The biggest factory truckload sale ever is on its way to Kentucky. So if you've ever dreamed of owning a spa or tanning bed, listen to this. Leisure Bay Spas, Dimension 1 Spas, plus ESB Tanning are coming to Kentucky with truckloads of spas and tanning beds at factory closeout prices. Their factory reps will be competing for your business at any price. And when you purchase, you'll get 6 months, no payment and no interest. At factory closeout prices, your savings are incredible. In Louisville, this sale will be conducted for the next 5 days only at Watson's, Ruck Regal Parkway in J-Town.
Where can you find a fairy tale autumn? New Albany, Indiana. Get ready for fall fun and food at its finest. The 1996 Harvest Homecoming Festival, October 5th through the 13th.
Right now at Smith's Furniture.
It's all about comfort. It's all about beauty. It's all about value during Flex Deal Week. Extra savings on Flex Deal sofas, chairs, and sofa sleepers. An array of styles in rich fabrics or fine leathers. A lifetime guarantee on springs, frames, and luxury cushions. It's all about extra savings during Flex Deal Week.
Save 1/3 this week at Smith's Furniture. Smith's Furniture, Appliance, and Electronics. That's who.
They'll be the first generation to speak a global language. They'll honeymoon on the moon, and each will process billions of gigabytes of information. But before they get to tomorrow, give them what they need today. New Mott Sunboost. Some other juice beverages stop at vitamin C. Mott Sunboost is a one fortified with 5 essential vitamins plus calcium to help kids grow strong and healthy so they can get to other planets or just to school on time. New Mott Sunboost. More to go on, more to grow on.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back to our special town hall meeting here at WHAS 11. We have less than 25 minutes left, and we do want to get a lot of questions in. Let's go back to Gene West with an audience member. Gene?
We're talking with James West. I don't think he's related, but he lives in Jeffersonville, and you have a question.
Yes, my question is it the rich versus the poor? Because I've seen folks out there at the airport, they didn't want to give up their homes either. And I feel that it is versus the rich, the poor. And they had to give up their homes. They didn't want them. They love their houses, too.
All right. Can we talk to one of the elected leaders? Mr. Maple, perhaps? Can you answer that for me?
I'm not sure if it is. I know that as I've traveled around Jefferson County, that seems to be an issue that comes to the surface, where people feel that it is the rich against the poor, or what have you, that it is about money and the people of means to the people with no means or very little means. And I think that whether that is the fact or not, I'm not sure.
Well,
but
Steve,
I do believe that it is an issue.
Do you think that's going to play a large part in whatever the decision is?
No, I think the bridge is going to be in the East End anyway. 265, 264. It's like the lady said, it makes common sense.
Russ, when a public entity decides to condemn property and build a bridge, despite lawsuits and whatever else, it generally happens. I don't know of a city or a county that's ever lost a condemnation suit ever in Kentucky.
Well, I don't either, and I'm brand new on fiscal court, and I'm learning as I go. But I can tell you that it seems that when the government decides to do something, they get it done. When it comes to condemnation, I feel that this is, as I was saying, is an issue that really is, as I was campaigning recently, that came to the surface that this was not just about transportation, but it was about a social and economic issue in regards to this community.
Let me pull Stan Smith up here from the Department of Transportation. Stan, maybe we can move you around this way. Now, you have some experience with this in the state of Indiana. When you decide finally on the course for a bridge or a road, it's pretty much a done deal?
Yes, when we do that, obviously we have funding issues everywhere, but we make our decisions based on the need. Obviously safety is a consideration, as well as the traffic counts and things like that. But we try to develop plans that allow us to go after funding. So once we've made our decision, we will then try to find the funding for it.
Your governor has already pledged Indiana funds to this project, has he not?
Yes, he said that he will put his fair share into this project. He's committed, that we're going to move ahead as best we can. And my job is to go out and help find the funds to do that. But he's made a commitment that Indiana's going to do its fair share.
All right. Stan Smith, thank you very much. Gene?
We have a question from Jerry Mossbacher, who lives in Prospect.
My question is for Mr. Smith.
It is as follows. I noticed earlier that you had said that there are two things that we didn't want to do. We didn't want to potentially have the full effect of building two bridges, the economic effect, and that building an East End bridge would not alleviate the Spaghetti Junction issue. With that being said, looking at light rail, has anyone looked at the economic benefit of continuing light rail all the way out to the airport and how that might favorably affect our community?
Okay, good question. There is actually another study that's going to be starting within the next couple of months to look specifically at the broader light rail issue. We're looking at the yellow line, as you've seen all night. There are also other lines that are being contemplated down in the Kentucky side here, so that is a full-fledged evaluation that the community is going through.
Does that answer your question?
It does. The only follow-up comment that I might have to that is for tonight, for the first time, I heard that the East End Bridge could potentially be a toll bridge. And coming from a city and moving to Louisville and happy to be here, leaving a city that had a lot of tolls, I couldn't find anybody that liked those. Have you been successful in finding anybody that wanted them here?
Well, I'd like everyone in this room who loves tolls to raise their hand.
All right, we're going to have to go to Doug, who's got some comments via email. Doug?
Did I hear another study, Gene? Is that what we heard? I saw some people wincing up here. Here's some of the faxes coming in. This one right here. Call me when the smoke clears. This one comes to us saying, if the plan for decades has been to connect the end of the Snyder to Indiana, why was the development of the area allowed to continue? And then we have another one here. We need two bridges now. We find money for everything else. Why would we not find enough funds for two bridges? Make it a top priority and let the stadiums wait. Now, before we go to a break, applause here for that comment. That came from Mrs. Shuley in Louisville, Kentucky. And on the computer screen there, an East End Bridge would solve the problem with all the trucks and other people who need to bypass downtown. All major cities have a bypass, and we have enough traffic for a bypass. We now go to a commercial break on Kentuckiana Connection. We've had 2,700 people contact us by fax and email. We'll be back in a moment.
Vote, the politics, the politicians. We'll make it easier to understand. Clear, concise. When it's important to you, stay with the resources of Kentuckiana's News Channel. Coverage you can count on, here on WHAS 11. The News Channel in September. The stories about you, that affected you, that changed all our lives. Kentuckiana saw it here. WHAS 11. Exclusive. Live. First. Coverage. You can count on Kentuckiana's News Channel, WHAS 11.
Traffic's looking terrific. This is Officer Al, the motorist pal. Hold the phone. I got northbound backed up to the bridges. Let's see if I can bird dog this snarl. Clarksville Highway 131 is jammed. Figures. Carriage Ford's doing it to me again. Old Earl Book's just gotta be dealing those cars all the time. Messing with my traffic.
Is Earl Book dealing? You bet. Carriage Ford has 96 Tauruses packed with options, only $13,988. $13,988 Tauruses only at Carriage Ford.
Where do you get a hot deal on a cool treat? Dairy Queen. It's the original Blizzard flavor treat, and it's just $1.19. $1.19 for cool and creamy smooth soft serve. Blended with your favorite fruit, cookie or candy flavors, like Butterfinger candy, Snickers candy, or Oreo cookies. The one and only Blizzard flavor treat, just $1.19 each.
Hot eats, cool treats, we treat you right.
The biggest factory truckload sale ever is coming to Kentucky. Leisure Bay Spas, Dimension 1 Spas, plus ESB Tanning. They're offering incredible savings. Plus, you'll get 6 months no payment and no interest. In Louisville, this sale will be conducted for the next 5 days only at Watson's, Ruck Regal Parkway in J-Town.
What you see can change your thoughts.
How am I going to get all these bills paid?
We never talk
What you hear can alter your emotions.
Forget me, but she needs a father.
Oh, so now I'm a lousy father.
That's not what I said.
But what you believe can change your life. Transform your thinking and establish your heart on the truth of God's Word with Kenneth and Gloria Copeland, Sundays here on the Believer's Voice of Victory.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
And welcome back, everyone, to our town meeting. We are in the final 15 minutes of this 2-hour town meeting. We want to go to another audience member with a question. Jean?
We have Mr. Edwards from Valley Station. You have a question.
Well, I was wanting to know, with the new light rail system, will they use that to supplement public transportation throughout Clark, Floyd, and Jefferson County? And if so, will it take up to the 15 years it took Atlanta to implement it?
Well, unfortunately, anything in the public domain as far as major facilities takes a long time.
All right.
We don't want to be unclear about that.
Okay, one more question.
My name is Dana Galuli. I'm from Jeffersonville. We've heard all about the historic homes in Prospect, but nothing about the 20 historic homes that are on the National Registry of Jeffersonville and the Civil War Cemetery.
There is the old Jeffersonville Historic District, which is on the National Register, which is located between Riverside Drive and about 200 feet north of Market Street, and extends to the north from that point, beginning at the existing bridge. So the new bridge on the upstream side would traverse at the same elevation as the existing bridge through the historic district along the side there and take 4 homes on Fort Street, which are actually contributing resources to the National Register District. There are also numerous contributing structures that would be closer to the road after this is constructed, if it is selected.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, and the Civil War Cemetery you mentioned, actually.
The Civil War Cemetery.
There is a cemetery that has been, that people know is there. It's in the vicinity of Colston Memorial Park. And it would perhaps have some graves within the right-of-way area. It's unknown, though, exactly what's there.
All right, thank you, Liz. Doug?
All right, Jean, thank you. And while I read these two, if we could get a shot of the map, specifically the 2 East End bridges. First of all, this comes from a writer, Clark Palmer. He says, go visit the 1275 Beltway Bridge around the west of Cincinnati. It looks great on a map, but nobody uses it. I don't know, I've never driven it, but that's according to Clark Palmer. And, you know, we've been a little tough on Mike Ward, but this is a person, Mike is a fan, obviously. Kirk Gruesback says, tell Mr. Ward to build the East End Bridge. Mr. Ward, and we should look at the map now, we want the blue line, the shorter line. Please build the blue line East End Bridge. More of Kentuckiana Connection is going to continue here on WHAS in a moment.
WHAS 11. This is who we are. Julie Kaler, your job specialist.
This is where they make the...
She knows the beat, so you'll know the story. WHAS 11. We are Kentuckiana's news channel.
Are you looking for adventure?
You know the kind of life I lead.
Fun, excitement, and romance. It's all here all week long on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Make it a practice to watch.
Weekday mornings at 10 on WHAS 11. 24 hours a day. The future of car shopping is here now. It's Car Select. Dial 1-800-442-AUTO and receive detailed information by fax or mail on the new or used car you want. Your free report lists prices, styles, and accessories. 1-800-442-AUTO. Dial it. Fax it. Buy it. Car Select from WHAS 11.
Want an adjustable bed but don't think you can afford one? Then you haven't priced Craftmatic adjustable beds lately. Craftmatic Model 2 beds cost hundreds less than these quality flatbeds. And this Craftmatic Model 3 is available at 50% of Craftmatic 2's low cost. 50%. Craftmatic Model 3 and 2 beds adjust to all these healthful positions and offer optional heat and massage, yet cost less than these quality flatbeds. Get our free catalog by mail, including information on Craftmatic 3s at savings of 50% of Craftmatic 2's low cost.
Hello, I'd like to receive your free catalog and 50% information by mail.
Certainly, sir.
It's easy, so call for this free catalog right away.
Call toll-free 1-800-328-5577. That's 1-800-328-5577. Toll-free 1-800-328-5577.
The road looks level, but your car suddenly strains like it's going uphill. Could be your transmission slipping. Is this problem a mountain or a molehill? Stay cool. The expert technicians at Aamco Centers have state-of-the-art diagnostic tools to straighten things out. And half the cars serviced by Aamco Centers don't need a new transmission. So if your car feels like it's going uphill, bring it to someone who's on the level. Aamco, AA, MCO.
You're watching Kentuckiana Connection, a town meeting from Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
Well, we have been receiving some fax and email messages here to our town meeting wondering where Lonnie Falk, the mayor of Prospect, is tonight. The mayor was invited to attend, but he declined. Well, we have the mayor of New Albany, who is the chairman of the Transportation Planning Committee, and Doug England, can you promise us that we will have a decision on where this bridge or bridges will be placed by the end of this year?
Yes, if the consultants bring us the recommendation and all the facts, there will be a vote, and a vote taken. There will be before Christmas, there should be an answer.
We talked earlier that Indiana had pledged a goodly amount of money to this. We've been talking about problems with financing two bridges. How much money will Indiana bring to the table?
Governor By, Jeff Boat, when they were doing some expansion, made a speech this past summer, and that's what he appropriated the funds for doing the environmental study, pledged to at least pay, Indiana would pay at least 50% of the cost of the bridge. Indiana is fortunate now to have one of the tops in the country. We've got $1.6 billion in reserve. A $200 million bridge is not a problem. Indiana will come up with their shares. I think our governor would like for Kentucky to come up with theirs.
Sounds like a deal, Doug. I think we can shake hands on it right here.
Well, I think it's what everybody in the viewing audience wants. It's for all of us to quit talking about it. You know, it's long before I was around. It's going to probably, hopefully not after we're gone. But now we've had a governor before he leaves office, and a new governor coming in, and I think they will take that pledge. They will help build it, and I think your governor will work with them. But if we squabble among ourselves, among community, about don't tear this down, don't tear that down, we're not going to get anything done.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Gene?
All right, we got quick comments from folks. Your name, where you live, and your comments.
Hi, I'm Rick Reynolds. I live in Utica, Indiana. I'd like to say we talked a lot about Spaghetti Junction, but it's only one of many problems on I-65. We've got 12 miles of backups, regular backups from exit 4 all the way to the fairgrounds, and I just don't understand how building a bridge downtown in the middle of it is going to help that. We've got to have an alternate route for people to get around the backups at the ball games, the backups at exit 4 at Christmas shoppers.
One more.
Hi, my name's Linda Hughes, and I'm an 8th generation Kentuckian who happens to live in New Albany now. The Indians didn't want my folks here either. However, we did have a little progress between those last 200 years. My comment is, we are a region, a 5-county region. We receive funding as a region from the United States government. 80% of the people in this region want an East End bridge, so why don't our politicians just go with their consensus of the people?
Okay. One more.
My name is Suzanne Baker, and I'm from Prospect. And because someone drew a line on a map, property values within my neighborhood have dropped significantly. And there are several people that have had their homes up for sale. They have not been able to sell them directly attributed to this issue because of the press, because of the public opinions. Something needs to be done about this because we are being damaged even though a decision has not been made.
Okay, one more.
My name is Mike Haig, and I'm from the city of Prospect. My comment is the fact that I'm sorry it's getting to be a point of between the rich and the poor. I make $37,000 a year, which I do not classify as being very wealthy. I've given up a lot, my wife and I have, so I can move into the landings. What's bothered us is the fact that we bought our house with the consideration that the Gene Snyder would be continued over to Indiana side, but don't reroute it through the heart of Prospect as destroying a town. Put it on the outside where it originally was supposed to be. Follow the blue line. Use your intelligence. Don't waste money. Use the cheaper route, the blue route. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go to Doug. Doug?
Thank you, Gene. 2,800 people have communicated with us so far. Let me show you what they've been doing us. Facts aren't just what we need, more cars. But I've got to read to you the line of the night that came to us, and here it is. By building a bridge in the downtown area, you are just adding another serving of spaghetti to Spaghetti Junction. There you go.
Thank you, Doug. Well, that's the line of the night, and here we have the political cartoon of the night. Nick Anderson of the Courier Journal left this with us, and we can show it to you because I think we have it on videotape. Let's pull that up. It shows the year 2020. The bridge debate continues. It shows two people at the Sunny Acres Rest Home, no doubt located just a little bit outside Prospect. Two people in wheelchairs, one with a sign from the East End, one from downtown. Still
debating.
At Juggernauts. Let's go back to Gene. Gene, let's get some more comments, okay?
All right, please, your name and where you live.
Lester Baxter from Jeffersonville. And one thing I want to question or comment, I don't think that even consider the fact that eventually, if this community grows, we want to build around the city. So we need one in the East End, and then maybe 20 years from now, one in the West End. And definitely, I don't think we have any need for another bridge downtown.
All right, thank you. One more, please.
My name's Elisa Panatti. I'm from New Albany. I don't understand why improvements on Spaghetti Junction are connected with the bridge. Spaghetti Junction needs to be fixed, period. Build the East End Bridge where the blue line is, but fix Spaghetti Junction. You don't have to have another bridge to fix it.
Thank you very much. Gary, Melissa.
Thank you all very much for being here tonight. I, for one, have heard a lot of, it's not follow the yellow brick road, it's follow the blue line. They do it. A lot of people saying, do what the map said. We'll find out. November 11th, the consultants make their recommendation in December. The politicians vote. We will know by the end of this year. They have promised us here tonight.
Well, we disagree, but we haven't lost our sense of humor. Thanks for coming tonight, folks. We hope we
Thank you all.
shed some light on this situation. Good night from Kentuckiana's News Channel.
Good night, everybody.